this evening are here. So again, Brett Hagan, the principal of Terrace Park School. Welcome to our evening to prepare for the next school year. As we begin, there are 3 opportunities tonight. If you are able or want to hear this presentation in Vietnamese, in Spanish, or in Amharic, you can look for the interpretation logo. It's at the bottom of your menu. It looks like a world. If you click on that button, you should everyone select. So select English, if that's the language channel. You can select Vietnamese, Spanish, and Amharic. It would be really helpful if you are here to receive interpretation. If you can please put that into the chat. So select the chat feature and you can type your name and which language you are interested in having for interpretation. That will help our 3 interpreters tonight with their language skills. So thank you very much for our 3 interpreters tonight. So this evening, I'm going to give you an overview of what we might expect as we begin school, a day in the life of a student. And I'm going to definitely answer some questions about COVID, health, and safety. I ask right now that you just wait on the questions. We will have an opportunity towards the end of our evening to ask questions. We will do that at the end. So I would love to present information for you. As we begin, I would like to take this time to acknowledge the land, the original inhabitants, the Snohomish tribe, for the people, the successors, which are the Tulalip tribes, which since time immemorial have taken care of this land, hunted, fished, and gathered. We respect their sovereignty with their right to self-determination, and we honor their sacred spiritual connection. By acknowledging these homelands, we commit to working with nations to further the education that they have identified in our classrooms and for our schools. Here is the same acknowledgement. This time it's written in Spanish. Just again, a welcome. I'm Brett Hagan, the principal. I'm joined tonight, actually Jimmy Nguyen is my assistant principal, and he is helping with the Vietnamese interpretation. And I have 60 amazing staff members who are very excited to welcome your students to school starting next week. I just wanted to give some information about teacher information. Our plan is to send information to all families on Friday about your teacher. Your teacher will send you information about a Zoom meet and greet next Tuesday, which is September the 7th, from 3 o'clock to 3:30, your teacher will host a Zoom time for you to come meet the teacher and meet other classmates. So again, your teacher will be providing that information to you at the end of this week. The first day of school. Well, the first day of school is on the 8th of September. That is for 1st grade through the 6th grade. The first day for kindergarten is on Monday, September the 13th. And there, I know it's really far away, but the last day of school on our calendar is June the 24th. We are very, very focused on and will be following health and COVID guidelines. Masks are required both inside and outside, example at recess time. We will be maintaining physical distancing. Before arriving at school, we ask all families to just observe your child and check for COVID symptoms. And if your child is not feeling well, we ask that your child stay home from school. That's the same direction that I will give to my teachers, is to stay home if they are also not feeling well. The Edmond School District has a complete COVID handbook. Some of that information I will cover this evening. However, to see the full handbook, you can find that on the Edmonds School District website. At this time, a daily health attestation is not required for students. We are asking families to monitor and to keep your child home if they are not feeling well. If the daily attestation has to change, we then will update you about that process if that does change. Here is a list of some typical COVID symptoms. You'll notice that many of them are similar to a common cold or maybe the flu. So again, if your child is not feeling well, we ask that your child stay home from school. If your child is showing any COVID symptoms at school, we will call you and ask that you come and pick your child up from school as they are not able to stay at school with these symptoms. We are every day will be involved with routine and regular cleaning and disinfecting high touch areas such as doorknobs, the hand railings on stairs, water fountains, bathrooms, tabletops, desks. We will be doing that daily with our custodial staff. And all of our schools are operating with our air control systems, HVAC, and they are maximizing the circulation of air, and we are using high-grade filters that are changed regularly. And that air system is working 7 days a week, 24 hours a day to preserve and maintain good airflow and air circulation within our school building. Hand hygiene is very important, so students will be regularly washing and or sanitizing hands, entering school before and after lunchtime, recess time, even within the classroom during the day. So I'm not going to show this, but there is 2 videos that are on our Edmonds School District website, and those include hand washing and also how to wear a mask properly. So I encourage you to watch those as a family. If you've not watched those, they are posted on our Edmonds School District website. Masks are required inside the school building and outside at recess by adults and students. Again, there's a video on our Edmonds School District website that will show you how to wear a mask properly. We have additional masks at school. Youth sizes, children sizes, adult sizes that we will provide to individuals who need additional masks. Currently, there is very limited access to school. School is really available for students and staff only. The school campuses are closed to families, parents, community volunteers. The main office is open for office purposes. If you need to bring medication to school, if you need to pick your child up for an early dismissal, if you need to enroll your child in school, you can come to the school office and do those school purposes. You can knock on the door and someone at the office will come and assist you. COVID vaccination is required for all school employees. That's all employees who work in the school. That vaccination needs to be verified by October the 18th. Vaccines are available in our state for students or individuals 12 and older. And if you have questions about vaccinations or want to make an appointment or need more resources, I would say please visit the Snohomish Health District website. We are able to test students for COVID at school, along with masks. This is a good mitigation factor. We will not be testing all students universally. We will test students who present with COVID symptoms, and we will consult with you and notify you and get your consent to do that process here at school. Here are some pictures just to show you. I know this is not the same as being at school, but definitely when you arrive to school and you leave school, the first picture on your left is our bus loop. That's where the buses will drop students off and pick them up. The middle picture is an example of our parking lot. We have some colored cones that will direct you for arrival and pickup. And then I know the map is very small, but I will be sending out a map and directions to families about arrival and dismissal. So that will be coming to you before the first day of school. I wanted to show you a couple examples of some classrooms. This is a kindergarten classroom showing you the social distancing, space between tables, space within the classroom. Normally, several tables, several desks might be all pushed together. So you'll notice that those are all spaced apart to allow a movement as well as an area where the teacher teaches their day from. Here is an example. I believe this could be maybe a second or third grade classroom. So again, you'll notice the desks are pulled apart. There is space between the desks for movement, for storage of materials. Students will put their backpacks and their coats at their desk or under their desk or next to their desk. We will not be using the cubbies just to promote social distancing, health and safety. Here's a picture of our music room. You'll notice there's a lot of open space. Students will either sit on the floor on designated spots, or they might use stools to sit on. But again, here's a space just showing you what it'll look like. Obviously, students will fill the space in music, but this is just an example of the music room. Here's a couple of pictures of recess. We will have recess 2 times every day. Students will play within a group of students. So they will not just be able to play anywhere at recess. Students will have a group to play with, and they will have an area to play with at school. Every week, we will change areas. So students, for example, they may play for 1 week on the blacktop. Then the next week, they may have the turquoise play toy. And then they may have access to the field at a different time. So we will have students play in groups, and we will rotate them in different parts of recess. Here's a picture, an example of the lunchroom or the commons. Students will be sitting socially distanced. Our goal is 6 feet. So you'll see there a lunch table that will accommodate 2 students, 1 on either end of the table. Students will sit facing the same direction. Students will remove their mask during eating time, but there will be limited socializing or conversation. Students will be asked to eat lunch quietly to promote safety and health. And at the end of lunch, they may then put their mask, on and talk with their neighbor who might be sitting, 6 feet away, but they can have a little bit of a conversation at the end of lunch. Because we want to promote health and safety, we are going to have 5 lunches, and some students will eat in the commons, and some students will eat in classrooms. So we will be spacing students out in our building for eating to promote health and safety. Here's some examples of kind of inside the school. We have tape, we have signs, we have arrows that help students move through the building, move sometimes in a one-way direction or a shared direction. But we have signs outside bathrooms, outside the classrooms, reminding students to wear masks. So we have lots of signage and markings around the school to help with health and safety. Obviously, we recognize we are a big school community and we want the school to feel like a community. So these are just some examples of some bulletin boards that will be greeting your students when they come to school next week. Performing arts at this time, The Department of Health has given guidance around performing arts, and that means things like band and orchestra. We will be following their guidelines for band and orchestra, as well as general music classes. It's possible that students might sing in general music, and if they do, they will be provided with a 3-ply mask for the time that they sing, and then that will be discarded or thrown away at the end of their use, and then they'll put their other mask back on. We do not have any athletics for elementary students. So if you're interested, if you have a middle school or high school student and you're interested in athletics, you can visit the Edmond School District website to get more information. School buses, students riding school bus will be socially distant by space or maybe 1 student per row. The bus driver will give directions about social distancing. Windows will be open for ventilation. Students and the bus driver will be wearing masks. And bus information should be in Skyward. If you do not see bus information for your student, you can contact the transportation office to find out more information about that. Also, there is a new app. It's an EduLog app that helps you to keep track of transportation and bus routes. You may want to download that app. And again, information is available on the Edmond School District website. Starting this year, or a continuation of this year, is all of our breakfasts and lunches are free for everyone. So students can get breakfast, milk, they can get lunch, have milk at lunch, and it's free. If your family would qualify for free and reduced lunch, you can still fill out the application. That also provides additional benefits. So the application you can still turn in, but lunch is free or breakfast is free this year for all of our students. If your family needs additional financial support for any reason, there are resources within our school district that can help you give benefits. So I encourage you to fill out that free and reduced meal application. That gives you additional benefits by submitting that application. If you have questions, you can contact our school office. Skyward is our school district's technology platform to keep track of student grades, family communication and contact information, bus route information. So if you have not yet found Skyward, I encourage you to find Skyward, and there's a Skyward Family Access component that you can get information. All students, kindergarten through 6th grade, will have Chromebooks. Students will use the same Chromebook as last year. The difference is for 2 grade levels. 1st grade and 5th grade receive new Chromebooks. So if you have a Chromebook from last year and you are going to be a 1st grader or going to be in 5th grade, we will exchange your Chromebook and give you a new one. Students in 2nd and 3rd and 4th and 6th will continue to use their Chromebooks from last year. Or if you are new to the Edmond School District, we will make sure that you get a Chromebook. Kindergarten students will also receive a Chromebook in the opening days of school, and we will send out more information about that. Students should bring their Chromebook to school every day and take it home every day. One of those reasons is to have access to learning activities, but also in the event if your child is ill or we have to quarantine or even have remote learning, your student then will still have access to learning activities. So again, just a reminder that it is important to keep students home if they are not feeling well. And if that's the case, we will do our best to provide learning activities for them to do at home. And the Department of Health will give us guidance about when a classroom may need to quarantine, or if we have to go to remote learning, and of course, when it would be safe for students or a class or the school to return to in-person learning. Just a little advertisement here. The Edmonds School District is looking for positions, especially in transportation or in food service. So there are applications and information on the Edmonds School District website. All right, we are kind of at the end. I thank you for coming. I'm going to look in the chat. I'm going to stop sharing so you can maybe see more people if that's the case. And then I will answer some questions and then allow people to also ask questions as part of tonight's evening. So let me go back through the chat here and pick up some questions. There's a question in here in the chat that says, if a teacher or staff member is not vaccinated for religious or medical reasons, how often will they be COVID tested? I don't know the specifics on that, of what that looks like and how that verification, I believe the verification is provided by October 18th. I don't know the follow-up for that. I'm not sure in our state if that's actually a guideline or provision that's required for additional testing, but I'm sure the Department of Health and our school district will give guidance to those individuals who are in that category. Where are the HVAC units located? Are they located in every classroom? So the HVAC is just the name we use for the air system. It is located basically along various points in the roof or in our ceiling. And so there is venting and filtration in every classroom, in the commons, in the gym, in the office. Every indoor space has that filtration and airflow system that's provided by systems all across the school building. There's a question about how big will the groups be out at recess? We are looking potentially, it could be 2 classes of students or 3 classes of students that may be within the same grade level or the same pod area. No more than that. It's recess in the past, so recess pre-pandemic may have been all kindergarten through 3rd graders outside at recess at one time, and they could freely play wherever. We are bringing it down to much smaller groups that will play in certain areas, and we will know for contact tracing which groups are playing together and which are the groups that will stay that same rotation through recess. Question is, will the Chromebooks have power cables in the classroom, or will the children need to bring those too? Great question. Your student needs to bring their Chromebook and their charger to and from school every day. Basically though, if your Chromebook is fully charged, when you come to school, it should last the entire day. So there should not be a need to have to recharge it at school, but having the power cord will be certainly helpful if that is the case. There's a question about how will masking be enforced? Well, masking will be enforced because we'll observe it and see it, and we will remind students and staff of the requirements. We had great success in the spring when students came back to the building wearing their masks. The compliance was extremely high for our students. Most of the time, it may have been a student who forgot, maybe they got a drink of water and they forgot to pull their mask up, things like that. However, if a student continues to be defiant or has difficulty wearing a mask, then we will be in contact with you as the parents, and it may be that the student will have to leave school for the day if they're choosing not to wear their mask. But again, we had really high compliance in the spring when our students came back to the building. Are class sizes smaller or larger than a typical year? I would say the class sizes on average are actually smaller. In terms of size, we have had some families, choosing other options for schooling this year. We have a K-8 online academy now. We have other schooling options families have selected. So I would say our class sizes are at really good sizes that promote that distancing and separation of desks. There's a question is, will there be an option for children to eat outside if it's weather permitting? We are looking at that, but that comes down to a lot of functions about where would they necessarily sit or be. While students are eating lunch, we also have students that are playing at the same time simultaneously. So we have to just look at the ability to have space for everybody. But we really feel with our commons area and our classrooms, by separating groups out into smaller groups, that we will just be promoting health and safety during lunchtime. What time is the school day? The school day is 8:40 in the morning till 3:10 in the afternoon. So 8:40 to 3:10. There's a question about, are students moving to different classrooms, or is it the teacher that comes to them so they stay in the same room all day? So we do have a couple of grade levels who what we call departmentalize, meaning the teachers might share in the teaching of subjects. If that is the case, the teachers will be switching locations, not the students. Students will move to different classrooms though, for example, band and orchestra. And of course, the whole class will move as a class to PE or library or general music. Snow days. Will there be remote days on snow days? That is a great question. Last year, because we were fully remote, we were able, if there was snow days, we would just continue to teach remotely to everybody. Now that we are in person, likely there would be a snow day, there would be no school. I'm guessing there would be some ability to do some teaching, but I don't know. I'd have to get more guidance as to what they're going to do this year, since our school structure is a little bit different than fully remote. The question is, how will sports be handled? So we don't have sports like a sports team at elementary school, but during PE classes, students will continue to wear masks for PE, both indoors and or outdoors. What is the attendance policy if a child misses school due to sickness? Well, we would code that as illness, which is one of our attendance codes. And if necessary, keep in contact with you, or you would provide us updates as to the health and well-being of your child and when they can return back to school. This is a question, do students have to bring home their required school materials every day, or do they leave those at school? If you're thinking of school supplies like crayons and markers and scissors, those are things that can remain at school. Every student will have their own container or bag of school supplies. They will be bringing their, any textbooks or homework pages, books to read, as well as their Chromebook every day. But the day-to-day materials, like school supplies, can remain at school. There's a lot of questions about students being new to school and how will they find their way to their classroom. So we will be finding a way to make sure that we can provide a school map, but also please know on the opening days of school, we will have lots of staff available to welcome students at the door, to get them to the right place, to find their classroom. Even if they've been at school before, some students, it's been over 18 months since they've been at school. So we want to make sure, yes, that we will help them get to their class location. The HVAC system, the question is, has it been updated recently? Yes, the HVAC system, all of our HVAC systems are operating at their highest potential and efficiency, and the air filters are changed on a regular basis. There's a question about what is the protocol for an exposed student when a student or a teacher is tested positive. So we will be in consultation with our own school district health services, as well as the Department of Health, to follow their guidance and to determine close contact tracing and then we will be notifying individuals involved. We will be sending information out to the class or the school. We cannot give out personal information as to who that individual is or the circumstances, but we will be in touch with you if your child is identified as a close contact. A definition of that is the health department says that means that your child was within 6 feet of a known positive case for 15 or more minutes of sustained time or over a period of time. So passing someone in the hallway would not be an example of a close contact. If they are in a classroom together or involved in a learning activity, again, within 6 feet for a sustained period of time, we would follow the health protocols and notify you and follow the guidance around quarantining or closing classes or potentially the school if that's required. Do I know how many students will be in each class? It kind of varies by grade level. I would say in kindergarten through 3rd grade, we love it if it's around 17 to 20. In 3rd and 4th grade, it might be, maybe 23 in 3rd grade, 25 to 6 in 4th grade. 5th and 6th grade could be as high as 29, but I think we're looking right now, the classes are about 25, 26. There's a question about how far are students apart. The guidance in classrooms is for students to be 3 feet apart as much as possible. But we also need to ensure that every student who wants to come to school is able to come to school. And so we will be following that distancing as much as possible as we can in the classrooms to promote that. There's a question about learning management systems. What systems will students be using? So in kindergarten through 3rd grade, students will use, let me stop this for a moment and make sure I'm saying this correctly. Kindergarten, 1st and 2nd graders will use Seesaw. 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th graders use Canvas. Those are the learning management systems that our school district has. Someone wrote and I said, thank you for all the work you're doing for our students and families. I have been worried and wanted to know more, and I appreciate information about this presentation. So thank you. I'm glad that this information has been helpful. Will there be nursing staff on site every day? The answer to that is no. Our elementary schools have nurses at school 2 days per week. However, I do have a health room paraeducator who is 5 days a week, and that person is trained on COVID protocols, health protocols, and they are the one that will be working with your student if they present with COVID symptoms. We have a containment room that those individuals come to be evaluated and likely then sent home if your student is showing any COVID symptoms at school. There's a question about what percentage of students are coming back to school in person. Back in August, when the school district did a survey of our families for their intent, at that time, I have not seen updated numbers, but at that time it was 92% of the school district students were coming back to school in person. That was in early August. There's a question about the difference maybe between spring protocols and now protocols, since we had students in the building in the spring. One of the changes is that the guidance for in classrooms is that it went from 6 feet in the classroom space to 3 feet in the classroom space. So we actually have more students in the classroom because we are no longer doing a hybrid schedule. We are still doing, yes, mask wearing, groupings at recess, things like that. So it could be viewed as being restrictive, but we actually found that students at school in the spring still benefited and really appreciated the interaction they had with classmates and with teachers face-to-face. So while the socializing and the interaction may be happening behind a mask, there was a very positive response by the students and the staff who were in the building in the spring, and we look forward to continuing that this fall. The time for breakfast. So our school day begins at 8:40. The school breakfast can be served beginning at 8:10. So there is time before school to access breakfast. How does it work? There's a question about band and orchestra. So in 5th and 6th grade, students have the option of being in band and orchestra. Students will receive information and have an introduction to band and orchestra in September. And by the end of September, if your student is interested, they will fill out a intent form, get a signature by a family member, and then participate in band or orchestra. It's optional. We encourage all students, if they're able to do it, to participate, but it is an optional music program. There's a question about, will we be informed if a teacher is unvaccinated? Unfortunately, no, that information is governed under HIPAA and is private information and is not released to the public. There's a question about how will students who have to stay at home due to illness or COVID be supported? We will do our very best to keep up with learning activities. Again, having Seesaw or Canvas, there will be an opportunity for learning activities to be provided, as well as students then can communicate to their teacher or submit learning assignments on Seesaw or on Canvas. How early can students come to school? We're asking, if you are not coming to breakfast, that your student arrive at 8:25. There will be a few minutes that we will have students supervised. 8:30, the doors of the school will open to students, and then students can go to their classrooms, and class begins at 8:40. The question is, will there be parent and teacher conferences? Yes, there will be conferences at the end of October. I'm guessing now, I don't know for sure, but likely those would be done on Zoom. They could be done in person, but we will follow the guidance of the Department of Health. And so yes, those conferences are scheduled at the end of October. Families in kindergarten, they will have a family connection meeting on Zoom with their teacher before the start of kindergarten. There's a question about extracurricular activities. Extracurricular activities at this point could be limited to our Move 60 program, which is a movement program before school or maybe after school. I don't know at this time. We have had activities such as foreign language clubs, chess clubs, Art-Wise. I don't know if those are happening at school at this time, but we will let families know if that's a possibility. What's the earliest a child could be dropped off? Again, we're asking that children be dropped off at 8:25. What time is the latest they can get picked up? School is out at 3:10. Generally, we expect families to be at school no later than 10 minutes after, but we generally, students are leaving on buses, getting picked up in cars, in that time right after school dismissal. Who will our teacher be? How will we know? You will receive information by Friday of that. How much time do students have to eat, and how much do they have for recess? Eating time is about 20 minutes, and then recess time is 2 times of recess play. Each recess time is 20 minutes. There's a question about if the Department of Health determines that we have to go back to remote learning, will they simply stay with their same teacher? I'm guessing that would be the plan if we all fully stay in a remote environment. In the spring, when we had a remote option and a hybrid option, depending upon the teacher assignments and staffing, some students did end up with a different teacher under remote or hybrid, depending upon what their current teacher did at that time. There's a question, can we walk our child to the door for their first day of school? When you mean door, you can walk them up to the front of the school, but you cannot enter the school. The school only is permitted for students and staff. There's a question about therapy services, like some students may have speech therapy, occupational therapy, physical therapy provided to them. My understanding is all of those services will be done in person. Our school is kind of two schools in one. So we are the neighborhood school, Terrace Park, and we are the challenge program, which is for the highly capable program in our district. Generally, the class size is the same between the two schools. There's no difference. One class is not larger than another based on the neighborhood school or the challenge program. Can we have access to the slideshow? So this whole presentation is being recorded and it will be available hopefully within a couple of days or by the end of the week on the Edmonds School District website. We'll have the slideshows for all of the schools in our district. There's a question about if a student has COVID, will they be required to produce a negative test before returning to school? Again, I'd have to look up the guidelines for sure. There is a 14-day waiting period if that were to occur, and that could possibly, require a negative COVID test or until symptoms are not evident for a period of time. Again, our school office staff will give you the guidance from the Department of Health related to the time frame of a quarantine or staying away. How will school lunch look, and is it individually packed? How will they be served? So students will be served lunch in the commons. Some items possibly could be prepackaged. There is one hot item available every day. Milk obviously comes in a container. So students will access that food service, and then if they're eating in the classrooms, they will carry their lunch to the classrooms, or if they're eating in the commons, they'll stay in the commons. The question is, will there be a meet the teacher drive-by? We're not having a drive-by, but next Tuesday afternoon, we will be having a meet and greet on Zoom for you to meet your teacher, meet classmates next Tuesday afternoon. The question is, are the teachers setting their own times on the 7th? No, they will all be from 3 to 3:30. Standard time, kind of everyone will just do the meet and greet at the same time. The question is, how can students report a teacher who may not be following PPE protocols? Certainly encourage that student to be kind of brave and come to the office and ask to see either myself or Mr. Nguyen, or certainly I guess they could report that at home, and would certainly ask that you would communicate that directly to the administration. The question is, how will PE be structured? PE will still occur as a normal PE class. Students will wear masks. The teachers will have students separate as 3 feet as much as possible for all of the different activities they might do in PE. Question is, will we receive a daily schedule from the teacher? You will get information from the teacher as the school year begins. We will also be hosting a curriculum night on September 23rd, and we will give you more information. That will be via Zoom, and your teacher will give specific information about curriculum and the learning plan for the school year. There's a question about, will 6th graders be going to outdoor science camp? At this time, no, there will be no outdoor camp for students. I have a question is, can you please explain why the starting time was changed this year? The starting time was changed by 20 minutes, basically to support transportation in terms of their routing. It used to be that our school was the only school at a 9 o'clock start time. And they determined that we could move to 8:40, and they could still provide all the transportation routes, and it actually saved money by condensing the number of routes that were needed across the district. So it was a cost savings decision for transportation. The question is, are students who are involved in the kids crew, which is the before and after school care at the Montlake Terrace Pavilion, they know the staff of that school in the morning, they will walk the students from the pavilion all the way to our front doors. And at the end of the day, that staff will meet the students in an area right outside of our gym, and they will walk the students over to the Montlake Terrace Pavilion. We also have right at school, at our school, they are on site and they provide before school and after school care for students. This is a question, but are windows in classrooms going to stay open? That's certainly an option. We are not propping doors open, but classrooms can certainly open windows. As a way, most classrooms have one window for sure. Some have two that can be opened. And the last question, I'm looking at the time. So this is a question about if you're interested in switching your student from in-person to online, I would say that you should go to the Edmonds School District website and look under enrollment. There is a process to submit that request. They are reviewing those on a weekly basis up until a specific time. And then my understanding is that changes could happen at the semester. That means at the middle point of the school year, which is the end of January, early February. But those enrollment decisions around switching an intent or accepting that intent, that occurs at the school district cabinet or leadership level, not with the individual schools. It says, last question, if my child participates in the online school, can they still participate in band and orchestra? That is going to be provided through the K-8 online school, but that would not be provided for them coming to Terrace Park. So they are two separate entities. So the K-8 online school is a completely separate school with their own administration staff that will provide all of the instruction for your children, but they would not attend here at Terrace Park because they're not enrolled at Terrace Park School. So I know there are still many more questions. I will be saving the chat and working to answer those questions in upcoming newsletters. Thank you so much again for coming this evening. Thank you to my 3 interpreters for providing language options for our families. Again, we are very excited to see your students come to school starting next week, and we look forward to a fun, productive, and a healthy school year. So again, thank you so much for coming. Have a wonderful evening.